quite a few months ago, I clicked on Dali Photo Festival and I saw exactly this picture and I fell immediately in love with it. And a little bit later I found out that it's a young German photographer, and I'm very happy to, Karolin Klüppel, that you're here with us and show us your work from Delhi Photo Festival, which you can see here in Yannick Commier's Surrealistic by Nature in Nageshwara Park, but a lot of other things. Thanks, Karolin, for also with some other people representing Germany, also from the photographic side, not only the institutional side in this. So I liked your work very much there, and I like it, of course, here. Yeah, thanks. Justin, can you introduce Karolin?
So, Karolin Klüppel, born in 1985, studied at the School of Art and Design in Kassel at the Faculdade de Belas Artes in Lisbon, and holds an MFA in photography. Her recent project, Mädchenland, has won several awards, such as the Canon Profifoto Award in 2014, the Felix Schoeller Award in 2015, and the Emerging Talent Award from the Dali International Photography Festival in China. She has been published in international magazines such as the National Geographic Magazine, the New York Times, the Independent, the Huffington Post, the Washington Post, amongst others. Her work concentrates on gender relations and matrilineal or matriarchal societies. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm very happy that you're all here today. And thanks a lot, team of Chennai Photo Biennale, for inviting me. I'm very happy that I'm giving the chance to present my work here. As a photographer, I'm working on my 3 projects since 2.5 years, so I can only show you about 1.5 projects until now. One of this is for sure Mädchenland. The translation is meaning Kingdom of Girls. And the other project is a recently started project on matriarchy in China. Mädchenland is currently on display at the exhibition Surrealistic by Nature, curated by Yannick Comier. And in both projects, I'm concerned with matrilineal or matriarchal societies. So I would like to define both societies to you so that you can get a better understanding of my projects. A matrilineal culture is the case when children are identified in terms of their mother rather than their father. And a good example here is the Jewish culture, because a child is only considered as Jewish when the mother is Jewish. So the matriarchy is, in very short explanation, a family, society, communities, or state governed by women. It is a social system in which females hold primary power, predominate in roles of political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, and control of property at the specific exclusion of men, at least to a large degree. You can find many matrilineal or matriarchal societies all over the world. To give you some examples, some famous ones are the Minangkabau of West Sumatra that are even Muslim, and they count about 4 million people. Then you have the Musu in China, the Khasi, Garo and Janti in India, the Iroquois in the USA, the Tuareg in North Africa, and the Akan people in Ghana. In Papua New Guinea, there are also many tribes that practice matrilineal. All in all, matrilineal cultures count about 20% of all 1,300 recognized ethnic tribes of all continents. So that's quite a lot. Now I would like to go further to explain you my my project Mädchenland. I'm dealing in this project with the minority of the Kasi that count about 1.1 million members. The Kasi live in the state of Meghalaya in India. Wait, I show you where. Here. So it's they live very close to the border to Bangladesh. And Meghalaya was founded 1972 as a state for the tribes. And from the only 3 million inhabitants of Meghalaya, nearly 90% belong to indigenous tribes. In fact, there are 2 other matrilineal tribes in Meghalaya, the Garo and Jantia, but the Kasi form the majority. Here, traditionally, it is the girls who are of particularly importance and who play an exposed role in the family. The line of succession passes through the youngest daughter. If she marries, her husband is taken into her family's house, and the children take their mother's name. A family with just sons is considered unlucky, because only daughters can assure the continuity of a clan. This succession after maternal line guarantees girls and women in Meghalaya a unique economical and social independence compared to general Indian conditions. To disrespect a woman in the Kasi culture means to harm the society. So after I finished an artist residency in Goa 2013, I wanted to do a project on the Kasi, and I traveled first to Shillong, the capital of Meghalaya, but I could not really connect to the people, so I decided to travel to a smaller village. And I found out about Marlenong on the internet, actually, because it's supposed to be very, very beautiful. And when I was there, I got immediately in close contact to the people, and the family invited me to live with them. So that was a start. I mean, I planned to stay for 3 or 4 days, and in the end it were 6 months. So you can imagine how deeply I fell in love with those people who really were so friendly and open to me and let me participate in their daily life. I decided very quickly that I don't want to do a classical documentary on their culture, because for me their culture was not really visible at first sight. So what really impressed me that were the girls who were so powerful and so self-assured. And I thought for myself that this is the way how the matrilineal must become visible. And I could really feel the love that the girls experience from their parents. So yeah, let's show you the project. The project counts now about 40 photographs, and I very much hope to publish a book soon. So, as you could see, I mix both stage photographs and documental photographs, and I really like to mix it and don't really reveal if this situation happened or if I staged it. But most ideas I just got through the daily life with the girls. So all this what you saw could also have had happened. So I returned to Malelong 2 times and I spent a total of 10 months there. The last time I was there was last November. And if you are interested, I would really like to give you some more information about the culture, because for me it's really, really interesting, and I mean, it's very striking that such a culture can exist in India and rarely someone knows about it. So I mean, so many Indians I've talked to, they didn't know exactly where Meghalaya is, or that there's even something like matrilineal existing in India, which is such a patriarchal country. So the matrilineal system can be traced back to the time when Khasi men were away fighting battles, and they could not take properly care for their families. And so passing property to the daughters seemed like a more logical idea for the parents. Yeah, another interesting point is that the Khasi don't know their arranged marriage. So when a woman and a man fall in love with each other, they just start to live together in the same house, and that means they are married. Most of the Khasi converted to Christianity, and nowadays many couples decide to marry in church. Also, divorce and remarriage is common and totally respected. It is no social stigma for a woman to live alone. And what I found out that in Shillong, many young women even decide to stay single. So another interesting point is that husbands at the end of the week or the end of the month give all their earnings to the wife, because she's in charge of managing the expenses for a family. And men usually do not own property, and the children do not belong to their clan. As a result, men sometimes feel unimportant and not very responsible for the families, and this sometimes can be a huge problem. So for a man, it's really easy to leave the family behind and just move in with another wife. And I think that this is because, like, the system of this culture does not give them a lot of rights, and to not have property means you can just, like, pack your little stuff and go if you want to. And in many villages that I've visited, there was the very huge drug problem or alcohol abuse, and even in Maolinong, where alcohol is strictly forbidden, many men were addicted to it. So I think the Khasi culture has also a lot of contradictions, and there's definitely no gender equality here. In Shillong, there's even a group that fights for the man's liberation. The group is called, in short form, SRT, with 4,000 members, and they want to convert the matrilineal system into a patriarchy, and they claim that the unresponsible behavior of the men towards the families is a result of a society that does not respect them enough. So, do you have any questions until now? Now I would leave the Khasi and I'll tell you about my new project. So, in August last year, I started a project in China, and I traveled to Yunnan, to the Lugu Lake the first time. And at the Lugu Lake, the Muso are settled. They count about 40,000 members. And the Musu are indigenous tribe that social system is considered as matrilineal, but they even have some aspects of real matriarchy, because women are the head of the house, property is passed through the female line, and women tend to make the business decisions. But political power tends to be in the hands of the males, which disqualifies them as the true matriarchy. So there's always a big discussion about it, because you cannot really define a system often if it's matrilineal or a matriarchy, and then it also depends on who, which gender the person has that makes the definition. So in the Musu culture, it is usually one woman that is being elected as the Dabu, the matriarch of an extended family. She is responsible for every family member and is in charge of all the economics of the family and its just distribution. The family can be very large because children continue living in their mother's house their entire life. Musu also follow the tradition of walking marriage. That means that lovers or married couples just visit each other during the night, and men usually visit the woman. The couple will never set up a new family and will never have property together. And the women choose their boyfriends and husbands only out of love. So the economic status does never matter to them because they are financially secured through their families. This was the house where I was living for 2 weeks. This was the Dabu. So during the day, after the man spent the night with his wife or girlfriend, he would return to his mother's house to work. Most Musu are self-supporters, and there's always a lot of farm work. But there's a clear division of labor between men and women are responsible for the farm work and household duties, and men for heavy labor and funerals. Usually it is the Dabu who is working the most. Due to the system of the walking marriage, the uncles play a very important role in parenting and are often more involved than the real fathers, so they really have a different family structure. And the men of extended families are often in charge of taking care of the children while the mother is working in the fields. So the men, they have really a lot of free time there. It's incredible. I spent 2 weeks in a Musu family in August. And during my stay, I took portraits of the old Dabus of the village. And I also slowly got to know that many young Musu, they decide to move to larger cities like Lijiang or Kunming, because the village life, it doesn't really offer them a lot of opportunities. And that's why many villages, the inhabitants of many villages are 50 years or older. So most Dabus now, they have problems to pass their title, and nobody really knows if the Musu culture will survive the modernization. And I found this very interesting and sad, and that's why in my future work I want to concentrate on the old Dabus. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to ask the audience again if anyone has any questions. Yeah?
What you have described largely seems a patriarchal situation where women are dumped with all the work in the guise of conferring
Yeah.
economic power, but the men have a lot of leisure, and from
Yes,
what
yes.
you said, they enjoy political power. Two questions. One, historically, say about 1,000 years back, do you have any idea how it was, and whether in modern conditions it has deteriorated like this, or was it always like this? Question one. And question two, are there any liberational elements that you found here in this situation?
Again, first question.
Maybe I'll restrict it to the first question. If you want.
Yeah, well, nobody really knows where the Kasi culture comes from, and sadly also the Kasi don't know, because a long time they had no script, so there was only spoken language, and actually they don't even really look Indian. They look like a mixture of Indian and Cambodian, and also I think the language has a lot of in common with Cambodian language. So I cannot really answer this question, I'm sorry. And the second one was again? I did not understand it, I'm sorry.
No, since you said matrilineal and also partially matriarchal, other than the sexual freedom, I mean in the sense choice of partner freedom, was
Yes.
there any other, liberational elements to indicate matriarchy or women's power? I can't see any from the pictures. I was wondering whether you could.
If there's been a liberation event,
See,
in the
when you portray a society which is matrilineal, other than for descendants, purpose of descendants, like bearing children and so on, one presumes that there's a certain amount of power and freedom
yeah,
that
yeah,
women
yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah, I've
Other
also
than
read about
the
this.
freedom to choose sex partners,
Yes.
which is an important freedom, no doubt. I am not able to see any other freedoms which are readily apparent from your photographs and talks. Did you see any, since you're more familiar with the situation? I'm asking.
Well, I mean, in reference to the, you mean in reference to the Chinese? Yeah, okay. Well, the tradition is actually that you don't really talk about with whom you spend the night. So of course they experience a lot of sexual freedom, but it would never happen that they would talk about it. And if it's a relationship with a man in a very early stage, he would only visit the woman when it's already dark and no one can see him. And only after, I think, several months or years, he's allowed to even have dinner with the family. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, Karolin, and thank you for sharing your work.